Welcome back, Focus Learners. In today's Explainer, we're diving into one of the most absolutely fascinating narratives in all of business history. We are going to explore how a super simple, literally thrown-together backyard pharmacy tonic transformed into a multi-billion-dollar global empire. It's a story that perfectly and kinda tragically contrasts the brilliant mind of an inventor with the ruthless execution of a pure operator. We're going to break down the exact formula, and I don't just mean the chemical one, but the business one, that took a local Atlanta curiosity and turned it into the single most recognized brand on planet Earth.
Okay, let's just jump right into a really harsh reality here. The man who invented the most valuable drink in human history, he did not die a billionaire. Not even close. In fact, when Dr. John Pemberton passed away on August 16, 1888, in Atlanta, Georgia, he was 57 years old and almost entirely penniless. His body was completely failing him from stomach cancer, and he was battling a brutal morphine addiction that he'd picked up after taking a saber wound in the final days of the Civil War. His finances were just in absolute ruins. Just to survive his last few months, he was forced to sell off the rights to his own formula, piece by agonizing piece.
And because of that tragedy, we are left with what is arguably the strangest origin story in business. The intense dramatic irony here is that when Pemberton died, the drink he created was literally just a local 5-cent fountain curiosity. That's it. He never lived to see it served billions of times a day in literally every corner of the globe. It's a story where the inventor loses absolutely everything, but the invention goes on to conquer the world anyway. Which means this massive global empire, it was built entirely by other hands. Section 1. The Backyard Formula. Flashback to 1886. So let's flash back 2 years before Pemberton's death. He wasn't some titan of industry, right? He was just an Atlanta pharmacist, a guy who tinkered with tonics during a weird time when the line between a medicine and a refreshing drink basically didn't exist. On May 8, 1886, he finally perfects this dark, sweet, aromatic syrup right in his own backyard. And on that very same day, he literally carries a jug of it down the street to Jacob's Pharmacy. They mix it with carbonated water right at the soda fountain, the patrons try it out, they immediately pronounce it excellent, and boom, it goes on sale for $0.05 a glass. Just a guy, a jug, and a local pharmacy.
Now you know a great product needs a great name. Pemberton's bookkeeper and partner, Frank M. Robinson, suggested a name based on 2 of the syrup's main ingredients. But then he did something absolutely incredible. He wrote the name out in Spencerian script. That's the flowing, super elegant handwriting that 19th century ledger keepers used. So think about this. The Coca-Cola logo you've seen your entire life, literally one of the most recognized trademarks ever created by humanity, is essentially just a piece of 1886 accounting penmanship. Some of the greatest branding in history started with a bookkeeper just doing his absolute best handwriting. Crazy, right?
But unfortunately, a great product and a brilliant logo weren't enough to save the man who actually made them. Almost immediately after the launch, Pemberton's health just completely collapsed. His morphine addiction, which came from decades of chronic pain from the war, deepened severely. And honestly, in those first few years, sales were kind of modest. It was really just one fountain beverage competing against dozens of others. Pemberton was simply too sick and way too broke to push it any further. Desperate for money just to survive the week, he started hopelessly tangling the rights to his creation, selling off little stakes to various partners. He was literally liquidating his own future 2 years before anyone even knew it was a future at all.
And this brings us to a massive, pivotal contrast in our story, the inventor versus the operator. On the left, we've got Dr. John Pemberton. He's the chemist, the tinkerer, the creator. He understood the literal science of the syrup perfectly. But on the right, we have another Atlanta pharmacist named Asa Candler. Now, Candler was an operator. He was a pure, unadulterated salesman. He didn't understand the chemistry the way Pemberton did, not at all, but he deeply, intuitively understood human demand. He understood the mechanics of how to scale a business.
Section 2. The Master Marketer. Scaling an Empire.
So, following Pemberton's death in 1888, the fate of the drink was just a mess of tangled rights. Asa Candler steps in as the business savior. He starts methodically scooping them all up from Pemberton's desperate fire sales. And I really want you to just pause and sit with this number for a second. $2,300. That was roughly the price of a modest house at the time. And that is the total outlay Asa Candler paid to secure sole 100% ownership of the formula by 1891. For the cost of a small house, he bought full control of what would become a literal cornerstone of global commerce. No way, right?
Now, what Candler did next is absolutely crucial.
because he didn't touch the syrup. He didn't improve Pemberton's recipe one bit. Instead, he masterfully industrialized belief in it. He built a modern marketing framework from scratch. Step 1, he blanketed the market with coupons for free first glasses. He bet that once you tasted it, you were a customer for life. Step 2, he plastered that logo everywhere. Step 3, ruthless consistency. The look, the name, he repeated an identical promise until it became familiar doctrine. And Step 4, aggressive distribution. He pushed incredibly hard to sign up soda fountains far, far beyond Atlanta.
To plaster the logo effectively, Candler took that red and white Spencerian script and slapped it on everyday items. We're talking calendars, clocks, serving trays, even the apothecary scales sitting in the pharmacies. He totally engineered it so that the brand was constantly in front of people's faces, whether they were actively thirsty or not. He literally embedded the product into the daily visual landscape of the American consumer.
And as you'd expect, this strategy resulted in explosive national growth. Check this out. In 1888, Candler begins acquiring the rights. By 1891, he has sole ownership. Just 1 year later, by 1892, syrup sales have grown nearly tenfold. And by 1895, Candler could officially boast that the drink was being consumed in every single state in America. In just 9 years, a local pharmacy curiosity became a coast-to-coast phenomenon, riding the waves of the national railroads and telegraphs. It is just an absolute masterclass in scaling.
All right, Section 3. Truths under the fizz. Lessons in scale.
So, now that we understand the history, we really need to pivot to the actionable business truths, and we have to discuss the honest, slightly uncomfortable heart of this whole story. On one side, the creator's fortune. Pemberton died sick, impoverished, and totally unrewarded for his genius. But on the other side, the idea's value, a company worth hundreds of billions of dollars today, globally recognized. The big lesson here? An idea's value and its creator's fortune do not always travel together. Pemberton got literally none of the immediate rewards for his world-conquering invention.
Because of that uncomfortable truth, we can extract some core business lessons. First, the builder and the believer. They are often completely different people with entirely different talents who arrive at different times. Recognizing that you need to bring in an operator to scale what you started, that is wisdom, folks. It is not weakness. Second, consistent branding, repeated without deviation, outlasts everyone. I mean, remember, that Bookkeeper's handwriting is still everywhere today. And finally, full ownership, exactly like Candler's $2,300 buyout, is what truly enables patient long-term building. It took both Pemberton's chemistry and Candler's marketing machine to succeed, even though only one of them got rich.
But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. An idea can be bigger than its creator's circumstances. Look, Pemberton's struggles with his health, his grinding poverty, his addiction, none of that actually erases what he made. Without his backyard experiment, Candler would have had absolutely nothing to sell. Pemberton's shaky first step outlived all of his personal misfortunes to become a permanent global institution.
Which leaves us with this final question for you. What shaky first step will you take today? Seriously, none of this global empire happens if a struggling pharmacist doesn't decide to keep tinkering in his backyard long after life had basically stopped being kind to him. And none of it happens if he doesn't carry that jug down the street just to see what people think. The biggest leaps almost always start with the smallest steps. If you love extracting these direct, structured lessons from incredible stories of people who just started, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next explainer.